You are all set to go.
Are you ready? Sorry. Buenos días, everyone. Bienvenidos y bienvenidas. Welcome to the Reforma LA Chapter Spanish Language Book Fair. My name is Maria Asensio, and I am the college librarian and managing director at Art Center College of Design in Pasadena, California. I'm also the past president of Reforma National and currently on the Reforma National Board as co-chair of the Legislative Committee. This free event is open to librarians, educators, students, and professionals interested in serving Latinos and the Spanish-speaking communities. In this session of the series, we're proud to have with us Lectorum Publications, Penguin Random House, CHAU Luna, Spanish Publishers, Lil Libros, and La Librería. They will be featuring their new children and young adult Spanish language titles. First, I would like to introduce my colega, Laura Duncan.
Hola, buenos dias. My name is Laura Duncan, and I'm a bilingual children's librarian at the Los Angeles Public Library, and I'm currently secretary of the Los Angeles chapter of Reforma. Welcome, everybody.
So we're going to load up the presentation so you can see that. As the presentation loads up, I want to inform you that all the slides and order sheets are available on our website, which should be posted on the chat box. You can download it and take notes. Also, these presentations are being recorded for future viewing. And now we'll start with the book presentations. Our first presenter is Marjorie Samper from Lectorum Publications. Lectorum Publications is a corporate member of Reforma. For more information about this company and contact information, please visit our website. Again, posted on our chat. Also, feel free to add your questions to the chat. At the end, I will be happy to read them and then have them answered. So, take it away. Is Marjorie with us?
Margie? She said, can show video.
Okay, now we're there.
There was two of you and I made only one of you.
Oh, that's fine.
Oh, okay. Okay, so we figured out. Hello, everybody. I am very excited to start off with the first book in the presentation, which is La Profecía de Beatriz. It is Kate de Camillo's new book. In English, it came out about a year ago. And it just arrived in our warehouse, thanks to all the great supply chain, paper, printing, issues that we've all experienced. But this book is set in the Middle Ages, and it is about this little girl who is found curled up with this goat, which the monks in the area think is like the most evil creature ever around. But there she is, like curled up with him, and she doesn't remember her name. She doesn't know why she's there. The only thing she remembers is that her name is Beatriz. So the monks take her in, but of course the king's soldiers know who she is, and they're looking for her no matter what the cost. And we're happy to say that this is actually the first Kate de Camillo book that we're publishing, but we actually have world rights for all of her books. So moving forward throughout the end of this year and into next year, we will not only be retranslating some of the books currently on the market by Kate de Camillo, but also translating some of her ones that have never been available in Spanish. The next book that I wanted to present to everyone is Sharon Creech's Una Vez. This is a great book for children who maybe don't feel like they belong, because the girl in the story, Gina, always felt different from her classmates. But when she meets her new neighbor and her creative writing teacher, she finds her place. And it is a great book for writing encouragement and also self-esteem. And this is the first of 2 books that we actually had published by Sharon Creech. There was a book published a couple of years ago in Spain, a version of Walk 2 Moons. Well, we retranslated it, and we have that one also. I didn't put it on the presentation just because it's an older book, but I did want to bring that to everyone's attention. The next book that we have is Camp by Kayla Miller. This is actually the second in the series. They're graphic novels. The first one is Click. And this is about a group of friends. And this one takes place in a summer camp. And 2 friends are really happy. They're like, oh, we're going to go to camp together. And then, of course, one is much more outgoing, makes friends a lot easier, and the other one feels left out. So they have to sort of work through that jealousy and their differences. And actually the 3rd book in the series, which is Act, will be coming out in a couple of months. So this is very popular with kids in English, and I'm sure it will be in Spanish as well. The next book that I have for you is another graphic novel, same publisher, Maeva. This one is very interesting. This one is The Nutcracker. And what I found interesting about it is, here at least, you think Nutcracker, you think, okay, it's Christmas. But this one, you know, will sort of introduce kids to the fact that the original was a short story written a long time ago. It's a classic, not just a holiday book. And it's in a graphic novel format, and it really is a good way to introduce the story to children. This next book, everyone's going to love once you see it. This is the same author illustrator as Snatch a Book and The Knight That Didn't Want to Fight. And this little blue creature you can see on the cover, he wants to make some friends. But he goes to this town and everybody is looking at a tablet, they're looking at a phone, they're looking at a computer, and they're just all staring at a screen. And nobody pays any attention to him, not even in businesses. So he sees a screen and he decides to eat it. And then he decides to eat all these screens, even television, movie house screens. And he eventually gets so full, and everyone sort of gets pretty angry. He goes to this park and he sees this little boy, well, not a boy, it's a tiger, and he has a ball. And first people don't know what to do. And so then, you know, the tiger's like, well, let's play. And at the same time, everyone who's angry about not having their screens, they sort of catch up to him. And the little boy said, I keep saying boy, it's a tiger boy, says, no, he was just looking for somebody to play with. So I think it's great because you can go everywhere today. And I think adults could learn from this book too, because they all have their heads in the screen also. I think there's a question on that. The next book is 30 Días Sin Basura o Más. And if you can just advance that slide, please. There you go, thank you. And this is a really interesting book as well. This one child finds out that his next door neighbors have appeared in the local newspaper because they have performed 50 acts that are going to help the planet. So he wants to one-up them. So he challenges his family to go like have zero trash for 30 days, just so he can sort of outdo his neighbors. And it sort of will bring, you know, to kids, it'll maybe make them a little more aware of how much we throw out, from food to garbage to containers. So it really is a wonderful way to bring an ecological message to kids. This next book is really great, Ellos Dijeron No. And this is all about they're sort of classified as, it's not civil disobedience acts, you know, because it's not just things like Gandhi, but it's people who sort of challenged the norm around them. And it actually, interesting enough, starts off with an episode from Greek mythology, but then it shows people from all over the world who stood up for freedom, be it social, political, religious, or even going against, you know, academia at the time, because it has Darwin, it has the, you know, the suffragettes, it has Oscar Wilde, it has, you know, what you would expect, Mandela, Malala. But what I thought was interesting, it also has Simon Wiesenthal and Las Madres de Plaza de Mayo. So it really shows all over the world, different time periods, people standing up for good causes. The next book that I wanted to show you guys is called Sam, Una Sombra Rebelde. And Sam is actually the name of the shadow. He is the shadow of this boy who never does anything. So Sam doesn't get to do everything, and his whole life is pretty much, you know, black and white. But he always has these dreams. He wants more. So one day he decides to follow his dream, and he escapes from the boy. And all of a sudden he ends up in a world full of color. Other shadows of other things, be it plants or animals, decide to follow their dreams as well. Soon, though, it gets a little chaotic, and the shadow says, well, I think I know where I can find the boy. So he goes and he finds the boy. And then the boy realized, I want to be more like the shadow. So the boy kind of comes out of his shell, and the shadow gets to have a much better, colorful, more fun life. This next book is Y si morir fuera como convertirse en mariposa. And this is a very gentle way of bringing up death or discussing death with children, because it starts with this child. He's walking with his grandfather and he sees a butterfly. And he wants to take the butterfly with him, but his grandfather says, if you do that, the insect is going to die. So then they start talking. The little boy asks him, are you going to die one day? And the grandfather says, yes. And the boy asks him, are you afraid? And the grandfather says, sometimes. But it's just a great way of sort of talking about the circle of life. And what is very interesting is in the back of the book, there is a guide on how to talk to children about death, explaining a little how children might view death. And it just gives sort of a step-by-step guide to answering their questions and making it a little less scary for them. The next book, La Ballena, Benji Davis is a great picture book writer. And this is a book about this little boy. His father's a fisherman, and he's left alone a lot. So one day when he's walking, he finds a whale on the beach, and he decides to bring him home and sort of hide it from his dad. Eventually, of course, because everyone can imagine it's really not that easy to hide a whale, the fisherman convinces him that he really belongs back in the sea. And the boy's very upset, but they go and they return him to the ocean, but they go every day in search of him just to say hi, because the little boy really befriended him. So it really is a great story about being kind to animals, but also knowing that wild animals have to be out in the wild. You can't keep them captive. Okay, this next book is great if you are a music fan, El Pequeño Gran Libro de la Música, because this book talks about every genre of music you could think of. It starts with classical music and explains that. It has blues, jazz, rap, folklore, and in the folklore they have, you know, rancheras, and they explain who were like the top artists of each genre of music. They even give you a playlist so you can listen to selections which they consider the best selections. They recommend that, and it's just, you know, it's fully illustrated. It's originally written in Spanish, and it's not that easy sometimes for this grade level to find things originally written in Spanish. Usually they're translations, but it's just, it really is a lot of fun. I mean, they have rock, pop, they had anything you can think of, it's in here. And the last book that I did want to talk to you guys about, it's oversized, but it's really worth finding a space for in any library. It's called Freedom, and it is actually written in the first person with Harriet Tubman. And she talks about escape, talks about her life. She talks about, of course, escaping slavery and helping people to escape as well, but in the same way, in a very visual way, because it's not super text heavy, but it teaches kids about the abolitionist movement. It talks about the Underground Railroad, songs that the slave used, sort of language to communicate. It talks about famous people like Henry Brown, who mailed himself in a box. And this I found interesting, this I didn't know, but along the way, they were helped by Native American tribes when they went through certain areas, which you don't usually hear about. It talks about the Fugitive Slave Act. And then, of course, at the end, it brings up the Jim Crow laws, civil rights, and things that happened after the slaves were free. So I truly recommend it. It is large, but you should definitely find a place for it. And that's all my books.
Thank you, Margie. That was great. I think I did see one question in the chat. Let's see.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a question from Coco Rios Fidel, and the question is Walk Two Moons a Lectorum translation?
Yes, it's a brand new translation, because we're also getting away, some of her books originally, like all of them, were pretty much done in Spain, and we're getting away from a lot of that vocabulary and the vosotros and retranslating that one. So that one is the same with the Kate de Camillo. The ones that will be forthcoming, those are all going to be brand new translations done by us.
Right. The just a comment, but the book on music is so interesting to me. It's you know, my father loved music from all over the world, and to have something like that is such a great book. So,
and it's really visually appealing too. So it's not, you know, I think any age group could appreciate it.
Right. We also have a question from Chris Munoz. Is the Harriet Tubman Freedom book in English?
You know, it's interesting. I looked to see if it was in English, but I found it in Spanish, and I found it in French. I expected to find it in English, but I didn't.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I think that is all for questions. Laura?
Okay, great. If there's no more questions, thank you so much, Marjorie.
Thank you.
So we are going to move on to our second presenter, Alexandra Torrealva from Penguin Random House. Penguin Random House is a corporate member of Reforma. For more information about this company and contact information, you can go to reforma.org/bookbuzz. And as you're watching our presentations, please remember, if you're on social media, use our hashtag #ReformaLA Book Fair. And continue to add your questions to the chat, and we will read them out after the presentation. Go ahead, Alexandra.
Thank you so much, Laura. Hi, my name is Alexandra Torrealva. I'm the editor at Vintage Español, one of our imprints here at Penguin Random House Grupo Editorial. I'm very, very happy to be with you here today to tell you about some of our most recent highlights in the YA and children's space. I just want to mention before I start that we have around 100 new releases every month in every genre and in every age group. And all of these books, including the ones that I'm going to present today, are available through your distributor of choice or also in electronic format. So without further ado, let's begin with a book that has been making a tremendous splash out there, the Spanish edition of The Stars Beneath Our Feet, which is also the first time this exciting new author is published in Spanish. This beautiful book paints a portrait of life in the New York City projects and explores issues of grief, finding renewal through art, and other universal themes. It also features a rich and diverse cast of characters, including African and Caribbean Americans, gay and lesbian characters, and an autistic classmate. Very excited for this one, published in January. Next up, Ruth Bahar is already a beloved author in English, and we are so happy to now be publishing her debut YA novel, Lucky Broken Girl, in Spanish. The book won the Pura del Pre Award in 2018 and is a semi-autobiographical story told from the perspective of a Cuban Jewish girl. At its heart, it's a story that teaches empathy, as the main character is an immigrant girl who is involved in a horrific car accident that leaves her confined to a cast and unable to move for 8 months. As Ruthie's world shrinks because of her injury, her powers of observation and her heart grow larger, and she comes to understand how fragile life really is, how vulnerable we all are as human beings, and how friends, neighbors, and the power of the arts can sweeten even the worst of times. A touching story and a beautifully diverse cast of characters make this book really a true treasure. Una para los Murphys, next up. This is another award winner by Linda Mullally Hunt. The book is the winner of the Tassie Walden Award for a New Voice in Children's Literature. This is a compassionate, thought-provoking, and beautifully told story about a child and her foster family and the lessons she learns about belonging. Our cover is the same as the English cover, and we will have a lesson plan available on our website too. In February, we have book number 16 in the Diary of the Wimpy Kid series from international best-selling author Jeff Kinney. Around 700,000 copies of the English edition of this book sold in just 6 weeks. What's special about this particular book is that it has been translated into neutral Latin American Spanish, and also that it will carry the Diario del Wimpy Kid brand name on the cover for the first time in Spanish. In past books, it has been translated to El Diario de Greg. We hope this will make it more recognizable and improve its discoverability. We have every book in the Wimpy Kids series in our catalog, 14 in total. Next up is Lure Olympus, a perfect crossover that would easily attract younger readers. The creator of Lure Olympus, Rachel Smith, presents a new take on Greek myth in the form of graphic novel that is already resonating with millions. This book reached the #1 spot on the New York Times bestseller list and was named one of the best books of the year by NPR. If that wasn't enough, there is an upcoming animated TV series that will be available for streaming. The fandom behind this book is really huge. It is the first book in a series. Volume 2 in English was published in February of this year. And the cool part is that the books will carry original material that will only be available in the books and not in the TV series, which we hope is going to attract much more readers. Up next is a very special book and a personal favorite. The author Manu Erena, he always dreamed of becoming a writer. He self-published his first book of poems with money he raised from people in his small town in Spain. And when it was out, it quickly topped the Amazon charts across Spain, Latin America, and even here in the US as well. That book titled Consequences of Saying I Love You turned him into an extraordinary editorial phenomenon, and he quickly became the most read poet in Spain before he even turned, wait for it, 16. PRH bought his second book, which is this one, an obviously highly anticipated second book of poems, in a unique and special edition that takes the reader into the very depths of their emotions. If you love romance and you love royalty, and better yet, if you love royal romance, you probably have already heard of this book in in English, especially since it became an instant New York Times bestseller and a Goodreads Choice Award winner in 2019. Vogue, NPR, Vanity Fair, and so many others have raved about this book, and it quickly became a book talk favorite on TikTok. The Spanish edition has been adapted to Latin American Spanish as well, will carry the same cover as the English edition, as you can see, and is sure to enamor Spanish-speaking audiences as well. For epic fantasy fans, both adults and young adults, Skin of the Sea or La Piel de las Sirenas by Natasha Bowen is a must-read. Inspired by her Nigerian heritage and her love of fantasy narratives, Natasha weaves both into this authentic, original, and powerful story of myths and fairy tale retellings in a quest that goes beyond humanity and into the realm of gods and goddesses. Readers, parents, and educators looking for sophisticated, diverse books will absolutely fall in love with this one. Multiple best-selling authors have offered blurbs and other praise for Skin of the Sea, and there's an exciting media hook to it as well. Disney's upcoming live-action adaptation of The Little Mermaid is slated for this year and stars a Black actress as Ariel. The next two books by Scott Stewart are so very unique. Scott is a best-selling children's book author who is committed to creating content that empowers young kids and encourages parents to fully accept and empower their children exactly as they are. His books have appeared on numerous bestseller lists. His empowering messages have been seen over 100 million times on social media altogether, and he is a regular guest on podcasts and mainstream media. The first one in our catalog is this one, the fantastic How to Be a Real Man, or Como Ser un Hombre de Verdad. And his second book, My Shadow is Pink, was nominated for Children's Book of the Year and Picture Book of the Year. The video with which the book was presented on TikTok went absolutely viral with more than 10 million views. Both books carry the same cover and interior as the English editions. This next one needs little introduction, as I'm sure you've all read the original version for adults, but we are so proud and excited to be publishing this edition for younger audiences in Spanish. Anti-racist educator Dr. Sonia Cherry Paul has condensed and adapted Jason Reynolds' stamped text while preserving the conversational and really accessible tone of the book. This new chapter book edition is age appropriate and accessible, as I said, enhanced by Rachel Baker's stunning art, and which showcases anti-racist figures and moments. There are approximately 40 black and white illustrations ranging from small spots to full-page art. It's an absolutely vital purchase for parents and educators who are looking for ways to discuss racism with elementary school-age children. It does have a lesson plan, and for kids looking for a real talk about race and ways to understand pervasive racism. You all know this hugely successful She Persisted series by heart. We will be publishing 2 books in the series, this one focusing on Sonia Sotomayor, and later another one on Harriet Tubman. We hope to continue bringing more books in this series into Spanish over the coming months. The author of this particular one, Meg Medina, as you may know, has won numerous awards for her work, including the Ezra Jack Keats Writer Award, as well as the Pura Belpré Award and Honor. And of course, she's the 2019 Newbery Medal winner for her novel Merci Suarez Changes Gears. This book also carries a prologue by Chelsea Clinton, as they all do, features black and white art throughout, and of course, it will have a free lesson plan on our website. This next one is a personal favorite as well. La Estudiante Mayor, or The Oldest Student, tells the story of an extraordinary Black woman and former slave, Mary Walker, whose determination to learn to read at age 116 proves one is never too old to learn something new. It is perfect for parents and teachers encouraging young students to read, those interested in stories about empowering female figures, teachers who want to lead discussions about the Civil War and the Civil Rights Movement in their classrooms, and grandparents who want to share inspirational stories about older people with their grandchildren. El Caso del Marqués Desaparecido is book number 1 of the now well-known Enola Holmes series, which features a teenage girl turned detective and younger sister to Sherlock Holmes. It is the inspiration for the recently released Netflix movies and has already become a classic. In this installment of the series, Enola must go out in search of her mother, who has disappeared, presumably in London. But when she arrives to London, she finds herself involved in the kidnapping of a young Marquess, fleeing murderous villains and trying to elude her shrewd older brothers, all while attempting to piece together clues to her mother's whereabouts. Our edition is adapted to Latin American Spanish, and we plan to continue publishing the following books in the series, both in this format and also as graphic novels. Also in May, we have A Través de Ti by Venezuelan author Ariana Godoy. Ariana became successful on Wattpad, the social storytelling platform, where she currently has almost 700,000 followers. Her books top the bestseller list in Latin America consistently. This is book 2 of a trilogy. We published book 1, A Través de Mi Ventana, last year, and it has already been turned into a movie on Netflix. It's a funny, passionate, twisting, and romantic love story that will enchant the teenage reader, but will also appeal and cross over to adult audiences looking for just a light, feel-good read. We will, of course, soon have book 3 available too. We have high hopes for Ariana's books in libraries and hope to see her have the same success she has had online. Changing gears a little bit, we will also be bringing this practical book in Spanish for young adult or young audiences as an introduction to all things money. Complicated concepts are explained in an accessible way and is fully illustrated to make the content more enjoyable for little ones. The author Rashmi is a lawyer and author of children's literature, as well as a mother of 2 young children who ask her many, many questions. It is truly a must-have in every bookshelf. This is another one of my favorites, Aarón Soñador Ilustrador, which is the Spanish edition of the beloved Aaron Slater illustrator. It is part of the Questionnaires series, which have sold more than 50,000 copies in Spanish in the US. The first book in the series, Hada Magnífica Científica, was recently turned into a series on Netflix, and it's just as wonderful. This is a beautiful series for children who are curious and imaginative, and for parents who want to ignite creativity in their kids. The translation of this particular one is by Yanitzia Canetti, well known for translating several Dr. Seuss books into Spanish. A free lesson plan will also be available for this one for free on our website. The next 2 books are also perfect for curious kids. They are 2 books in the Encyclopedia Britannica series for kids. We will be publishing several more books in this series of all kinds of different topics, but in February we will have the first one, which is this one, focused on space. And in June, we'll have the second one focused on life, specifically animals and vegetables. Encyclopedia Britannica is, of course, a very trusted brand, one of the most powerful ones in the nonfiction space. And the format of these books is large and full of attractive illustrations. Next up is an adorable book made possible by a creative duo, author Susana Isern, who has published more than 50 books for children and has accumulated more than 120,000 copies in sales in Spain, and David Sierra, the illustrator behind phenomena such as Ana Cadabra or the series Los Rescatadores Mágicos, or The Magical Rescuers. La Armadura de Hugo is a story about empathy and sensitivity, very much in line with the now growing importance of social and emotional development in very, very young kids. It's a great read aloud picture book. This next book is one we all need right now, children and adults, quite honestly. The author Agata Subirats is a renowned yogi and the creator of and founder of Mama Yoga, a family yoga method based in Barcelona. She herself is a mother of 4 children and has a community of 11,000 followers on Instagram. This picture book, Respira Conmigo, or Breathe With Me, shows a new angle on children's yoga, focusing on the single most basic and effective exercise to achieve relaxation in little ones, breathing. It's also a perfect book for bedtime, to wind down and encourage emotional regulation when they need it the most. Speaking of emotional regulation, this next book is perfect for slightly older kids to learn how to combat anxiety with self-esteem, confidence, and courage. Tiene Superpoderes is the only book of its kind in Spanish, and we live in a time when anxiety-ridden diagnoses in children are at an all-time high. Reading this book is meant to give kids relief and give parents a tool to address a difficult, almost taboo emotion in their children. The authors are superstars in media. Dr. Shefali Tsabari frequently appears on Super Soul Sessions and Life Class on the Oprah Winfrey Network. And Renee Jain is the founder of GoZen, an organization that creates online emotional intelligence programs for kids. The book features several interactive elements, Q&A sections, charts and quizzes, and over 100 illustrations to break up the text and keep readers engaged, and also shares stories of actual children who live with anxiety. Our cover matches the English edition, which has now sold over 40,000 copies. Another Wattpad superstar, Joana Marcus, and her book Antes de Diciembre, or Before December. Joana started writing when she was just a child, and today, at the age of 21, she is already a best-selling author in Spain and Latin America. She has more than 20 million reads on Wattpad, and over 490,000 followers on Instagram. It's truly a resounding organic success. Antes de Diciembre is about a young couple in their first year of college who decide to open their relationship and allow each other to meet other people because come winter break, they would be together again. So when Jenna, the protagonist, begins to get closer to her roommate's boyfriend's best friend, it's totally harmless, right? Because everything would go back to normal when she saw her boyfriend again in December. Or would it? These YA books really have an addictive quality to them, and with their crossover potential, we know they will find avid readers in both teenagers and adults as well. And one last one for the Wattpad fans. Flor Salvador is truly the Wattpad author of the moment, along with Ariana Godoy. Flor is a 24-year-old Mexican writer, and each of her books on this platform has more than 10 million readings. Last September, she was at the Lima Book Fair in Peru, and her event gathered 4,000 people who lined up very early that day just to be admitted inside. Reminiscent of John Green's books, Boulevard is a romantic novel with two young lovers at its center who couldn't be more different but gravitate ferociously towards each other. A first edition of this book sold 9,000 copies in 2021 alone and was on the top 50 Libros en Español category on Amazon. More than 100,000 copies have been sold worldwide, but here in the US, it has been out of stock for 2 months. So there is already a huge, huge demand for this book. Changing gears once again, a fun cookbook for Harry Potter fans will also be available in Spanish come May. This was a quick #1 New York Times bestseller in English, and we are absolutely sure it will have a similar success in Spanish. It has 4 color illustrations throughout for each recipe, each of which is inspired by the Harry Potter movies. And finally, I'm so very excited about this last one. Living Beyond Borders, or Más Allá de la Frontera, is a beautiful YA anthology, the first to center Mexican-American voices. This powerhouse cast of authors, among them Guadalupe Garcia Macal, David Bowles, Rubén Degollado, and Aida Salazar, have received numerous awards and honors. Among them are the Pura Belpré winners, William C. Morris finalists, Boston Globe Horn Book Award honorees, and many, many more. Our edition came out in January with the same cover as the Penguin Young Readers English edition, and we are positive it will become an essential read to understand this diverse and very multifaceted community, and to encourage conversations on tolerance and diversity everywhere. And that is it from me today. Thank you so much for listening, and I do hope you get a chance to read some of these really wonderful books. If you're looking for something specific or a tailored list, please reach out to our wonderful sales rep, Veronica Cervera. She can definitely help you, and I'm going to drop her email in the chat just in case you need it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was so great. We do have one question in the chat so far, which is about the Harry Potter cookbook.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what the measuring units will be? Cups, ounces?
That's a very good question. If whoever asked the question wants to just send me a private chat message with their email, I can get back to them for sure about that. Thank you for being so specific.
I know sometimes they're in grams from other countries.
Yeah, absolutely. We always, I mean, I don't want to state incorrect information, but we always want to try to adapt it to here to the US for like US audiences. I'm not sure. So let me just check on that and I'll get back to you. Please, the person who asked it, please just send me your email and I'll get back to you.
Great. Any other questions? Oh, someone looked it up and it is in American measurements. Thank you.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much for doing that for us.
Thank you, Alejandra. Our third presenter is Jimena Diego from CHAU Luna. And I should mention that my dog's name is Luna. So every time I say this, her ear's probably going up. Why is he talking about me? So, CHAU Luna is a corporate member of Reforma. For more information about this company and contact information, please visit reformala.org/blog/bookfair. And remember to use our hashtag ReformaLABookFair. Feel free to add your questions to the comment box as mentioned before. And so without further ado, Jimena.
Thank you. Thank you, Mario. Hi, everyone. I will be sharing my screen. A second. Continue. Let's stop share. You. So, there you go. Hello, everyone can see it?
Yes, we can see it.
Great, thank you. So, hello, everyone. I'm Jimena. I'm the founder and director of CHAU, an independent Latina-owned business in Brooklyn, New York. We will begin our presentation with our new board books. There you go. The first one is Pio Pio by award-winning Colombian author Di Pacho. More than an intro to colors and shapes, this is a cumulative tale of 4 little birds who appear slowly, they meet, play, and then they go home. With a rhythmic Pio Pio, the birds start appearing, showing first their beaks, then their legs, then the wings. Everything about this book is fascinating. There's rhyme, bright colors, striking design, the large font that allows for word recognition, the logical sequence, the sounds. This is the perfect book to interact and play with young children. Como Suena by award-winning author and illustrator from Ecuador, Roger Icaza, is an introduction to musical instruments. Each instrument is presented with its unique sound and the musician who plays it. As you can see, the illustrations have detail and movement. The book encourages active listening and child participation. This is an ideal book for sing-alongs and music classes for young children. The next one is El Concierto. In El Concierto, each character is introduced while doing mundane activities, from taking a bath to brushing their teeth to getting dressed. All these activities are familiar to children. We see them in a hurry. All the characters are in a hurry to go somewhere, and they finally arrive together to the same place, a stage where the conductor, a gorilla, was waiting for them. This is a simple and yet action-packed story with a satisfactory ending that reveals what the fuss was about. The colorful and funny illustrations will delight young children. These ones are not new releases, but I showed them last year in Reforma Northeast, and they have been very successful since then. One is a toddler who keeps asking why at every answer the parents give. And the other one is an ode to rain and all the great things that we can do when it rains. Like all our board books so far, the borders are round and the size is perfect for small hands. By the same publisher, the collection Ciudades or cities, on the other hand, these are large board books, and the larger format explores the concept of opposites and city life. They both have extremely detailed illustrations and very brief text. I have to show you at least one spread. Here, this is one of the books. As you can see, there is there's humor in the illustrations, and there is a connection always between text and illustration. The next one is Y tu pañal, and your diaper, and it's perfect for toddlers. Each spread features a baby animal and their habitats with their family or friends, and each animal has a diaper that is unique in color, texture, and size. The title encourages self-reflection. It has rhyming text and humor, and the pastel color illustrations have details that young children will find comforting. And the ending introduces one character using the potty, hinting at what comes next. These are board books that you may know by the same publisher. I presented them again last year, but they're still in stock and they are really popular. Había una vez is the collaboration of Argentine author and a Spanish illustrator. This is a whimsical circular story. The scene unfolds and then halfway through it goes back to the beginning. It is a very funny, simple story. It has a rhyming text to aid memorization and very few words with capital letters. It has humor in the illustrations, and also there's detail in these illustrations. Vaivén is a beautiful, peaceful scene that unfolds with very few words. This is the perfect story to read before nap or at bedtime. The beach and ocean backgrounds are serene, and it has a non-binary character. These are other books you may recognize by the same publisher. They are also in stock and available. These last three board books are ideal for ages 3 and up. In Del Otro Lado, the one that you see here, someone is knocking at the door, but when our protagonist looks through the keyhole, he gets scared at what he sees. This is a cumulative story with a knock-knock building the tension. The mystery is revealed at the end, and kids will want to go back to see the clues they have missed. This ending is reassuring. It shows how all dangers the protagonist felt were just in his mind. The large, sturdy board book has die cuts that mimic the peephole where the protagonist is looking through. This places the audience in the point of view of the protagonist. The expressive illustrations, the fast-paced action, the dialogue and the pattern story will make this one a great read aloud. And by the same authors, these are two titles that are ideal for early childhood education. One introduces feelings and emotions, and the other one introduces personality traits. This is the first of our picture books. All picture books in this presentation are hardcover. En Cómo Llegar a la Luna, a boy visits his grandfather and embarks with him on a trip to the moon. The endearing story highlights the power of imagination and the bond between grandfather and child. What makes this story unique is the fascinating illustrations in the night in the woods, which seems mysterious yet delightful and soothing, and the details of the action, like a close-up of sneakers stepping on a branch, bring readers into the story. Nicolas Chouf is an award-winning author of children's books. Is also available for author visits. All the authors that are marked with an asterisk are authors that can be booked through CHAU Luna, and they're available for author visits in schools and libraries. In Una Noche Sin Dormir, by Peruvian author Micaela Ashrif, the narrator's baby sister is crying and crying and no one can figure out why. This starts a chain reaction because everyone fails to calm down the baby until grandma, of course, comes to the rescue. The ending is surprising and hilarious, and children will love it. The art, made with markers, as if made by an elementary school kid, emphasizes the narrator's voice. I also want to highlight these three picture books, which I presented last year. The first one teaches kids how beautiful our body is. The second one is a lyrical text about a child who has millions of questions for her mom before she goes to bed, as kids usually have. And the third one is historical fiction. The dad of the protagonist is a scribe in ancient Mexico, and we learn the role of tlacuilos in the society. They were part historians, part storytellers, part artists. In Quiero Ser Una Reina, this book is from Spain. The narrator is a boy who wants to be queen, despite everyone around him saying that's impossible. The action unfolds during wartime. The tension builds, but there's also a reassuring tone throughout the story, in part because of the gorgeous illustrations, which have a dreamlike, gentle quality. The story has a surprising, satisfying ending because we realize in the end that things were not what they seemed. Because of the pace of the story, the dialogues, the large illustrations, this book is great for read alouds. Also by the same publisher from Spain, we have these two titles you may know. One was recommended by Fundación Cuatro Gatos, and it's a funny story that kids and parents can relate to. And the other one is a new release coming next month about a group of kids who want to preserve the green space where they play against a new development that is coming. For that, they must organize themselves and seek help from the adults. In Dientes de Cocodrilo, the protagonist tells us how to take care of his pet's dental hygiene. The first person present tense narrative keeps the story accessible to non-Spanish speakers. The illustrations have tons of detail, and there is also a great point to this book is that it can initiate a conversation about healthy habits and what it entails to take care of pets. This is a great story for read alouds. And these are also titles from last year available from this publisher and great for public libraries. From Uruguay comes Las Cinco Cuadras, a girl's journey from her home to the nearby beach, only 5 blocks away. But the walk is filled with challenges. There are loud noises, moving cars, things that are not organized the way they should. This story allows us to view the world through the eyes of someone in the autism spectrum. Soothing watercolors keep the story reassuring despite the tension. This is a heartfelt story with a satisfying ending, one that will inspire empathy and can enable a conversation on the topic. Vida de un lápiz is the story that begins in the forest, more precisely in the exact tree where a pencil is born. This pencil goes from one hand to another, and each owner has his or her own particular story. There's a man in jail, a student in love, a working artist presenting a project. Each person is strikingly unique in their circumstances. Because we see them in private moments, we connect with them right away and feel for them. The whole story fosters empathy and shows how we are all connected in this world. The black and white pencil drawings fit the text perfectly. These are two other books from the same publisher that are still in stock and highly recommended. Tengo Hambre is a graphic explanation of the food chain for children 3 to 5. Menena Cottin is well known for her minimalistic, bold illustrations. The few words have large font to aid beginning readers, and the story helps young children understand our ecosystem. The author is from Venezuela and the publisher from Colombia. These are all also 3 books by the same publisher that are in stock and also highly recommended for public libraries. People Power, protestas que han cambiado el mundo. This is a survey of protests that had changed the course of history, from Gandhi's Salt March to Greta Thunberg's Fridays for Future, and from civil rights to Black Lives Matter. Each protest or movement is explained and illustrated using 2 spreads, and each one also has its own vignettes. The text is agile, and the striking illustrations by renowned Spanish illustrator Mariela Diaz give much detail. So this is more than a history book or a book on politics. This is a highly entertaining book as well. La tierra es mi amiga. This is another attractive nonfiction title and is the sequel to bestseller El Mundo es mi amiga, El Mundo es mi casa, which is still available. The book takes us on a journey around the globe to explore its natural and cultural beauty. Along the way, children from different parts of the world explain specific initiatives that help protect the environment they live in, from different ways of building houses to cars that work with cooking oil to original recycling methods. The gorgeous portraits anchor the stories and make them personal. Rio del Mundo is perhaps the most beautiful book in this collection. It presents the 19 legendary rivers from the 5 continents. Each river takes a spread that details history, geography, iconic structures, cultural phenomena, flora, fauna. The illustrations have so much detail that they take readers on a real journey. It's a large book, as you can see also, so it's very easy to get lost in this book. Fluidoteca. This is an original look at the human body through a survey of the fluids that run through it, from blood and sweat and tears and pee to other less known fluids. This one is the only softcover book that we have in the picture book format. And to start our series, Alan Ventura is a series that we started distributing last year, and this year brings the 3rd volume, which is this one. Alan Ventura is a nerd programmer and video gamer who finds himself involved in an adventure he did not ask for, but because something is not right and he needs to find out what is going on, he gets involved in a mystery that somehow needs to solve. There is a lot here that elementary and middle school readers will love. There is a lot of video game terminology. The story is action-packed, much like a video game. It is also highly illustrated. It is almost a graphic novel. And the main character and his friend Laura travel to Japan, then to Mexico, and then in the last volume, they go to outer space. There is also a free online video game tied to the series. And I have to mention that the publisher works closely with schools in Argentina, so you won't find anything really violent or of poor taste. And finally, the latest volume in the series, La Super Ocho. This one follows the story of one of the girls in the group. Sol travels to the city to spend time with her dad, whom she doesn't know much. Across the street lives Luna, a red-haired musician who will become her new friend in town. This is a story about teen love in an urban setting with a fractured family and a main character trying to find out who she really is. It is a fast-paced, highly illustrated chapter book that has also, and the other volumes in the series are still in stock, and these are the ones, these are them. Thank you so much for listening. And if you want to see these books inside from beginning to end, you can just email me and I will be happy to share them.
Jimena, gracias for that lovely presentation. Wonderful.
Okay, let me see how I get out of the, stop sharing. There you go.
Laura, I don't see any questions in the chat, so I think we're set to go. Gracias again, Jimena.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Jimena. So our next presenter is going to be Mariela Diaz from Spanish Publishers. Spanish Publishers is a corporate member of Reforma. And for more information about this company and their contact information, you can visit reformala.org/blog/bookfair. And again, if you're on social media, remember to use hashtag reformalabookfair.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for joining me today and giving me the opportunity to share my presentation with you. For those who don't know me, my name is Mariela Diaz, and I am the sales manager of Spanish publishers. Last year, we went from 14 publishers to 19 publishers, of which 17 are from Spain and 2 are from Mexico. We are presenting 100 to 120 new releases per month, all genres. We can start, please. Go to the next one. Okay, so here we have Also Ali es así. This book is from Editorial Gribaudo. It's a children's book. Beer Ali was born with the desire to make children feel reflected in him and to better assimilate and verbalize what happens to them. He is a great character to work on children's emotions. It's a wonderful and precious story that exalts the value of friendship and that we must accept others as they are. This is a story that touches your heart. Next. Ingrediente Secreto de Moni Santiago, With the Fire on High, from Elizabeth Acevedo. This is one of the best sellers. Actually, it's a YA book. Actually, it's Amazon bestseller rank, number 9 in teen and young adult fiction about pregnancy, number 19 in teens multi-generational family fiction, number 48 in teens about values and virtues. Acevedo has done it again. The multi-award winning author of Poet X 2018 here delivers perfection. This sophomore novel is simply stunning. From the New York Times bestselling author of the National Book Award winning titled Poet X comes a dazzling novel in prose about a girl with talent, pride, and drive to feed the soul that keeps her fire burning bright. Ever since she got pregnant freshman year, Emily Santiago's life has been about making the tough decision, doing what has to be done for her daughter and her abuela. The one place she can let all that go is the kitchen, where she adds a little something magical to everything she cooks. Next. De Sangre y Cenizas, from Blood and Ash. This is from a very well-known author, Jennifer Armentrout. It's a YA book. Captivating and action-packed from Blood and Ash. It's a sexy, addictive, and unexpected fantasy, perfect for fans of Sarah J. Maas and Laura Talasa. Jennifer Armentrout has the power to control emotions with every word she writes, from swooning to crying to racing through the page to find out what happens next. Hard to stop reading. Next one, please. 6 historias contra el aburrimiento, 6 stories against boredom. It's a children's book. You will surprise with these stories full of fun, especially loving and teaching book, perfect for reading time. A full color illustrations created by the graphic designer Carla Manea are a delight for children. Certainly, you have looked at the sky one night and that you have gone by train more than once, but are you bored? Maybe it's because you haven't learned to look well. Have you noticed those stars, those travelers, the juggler who performs on street? These 6 stories will show you how easy it is to marvel. It's enough to know how to observe around you. Next, please. El Nonicornio, the Nonicorn. This is a children's book. This beautiful little unicorn, after had a feeling of being out of place and decided to always say no. No at bath time, no at mealtime, no at bedtime, until he discovered a captive princess who changed his life. It's an ideal read for the little ones. The unicorn in this story does not behave like a unicorn at all. He always says no to everything. So his family has decided to call him Nonicorn. Join him on this fun journey where he will learn that even being stubborn is more fun in company. Next one, please. Mi primer libro de buenos modales, The Please and Thank You book. It's a children's book, a funny first book for manners and Rockley rhyme. A lovely collection of short, snappy poems about gravy gorillas, wild cats, sloopy pigs, sharing bears, thoughtful elephants will have kids and stitches as they are reminded how and how not to behave. Next, please. Hasta los superhéroes cometen errores. Even superheroes make mistakes. It's a children's book by the author of Even Superheroes Have Bad Days, a 2018 Blue Spruce Award nominee. A highly appealing read. Children will readily gravitate to this book. A good pick for superhero theme story times and displays. What do young superheroes do when they've blundered and bungled? They don't get mad, they get smart. This fun book teaches kids a humorous lessons in overcoming adversity. Next. El Gran Libro de las Emociones, The Great Book of Emotions. It's a children's book, 30 fun stories that will help to recognize and manage all kinds of emotions. Each story is accompanied by a sheet produced by a center specialized in emotional education. Recognizing and knowing how to express emotions and feelings is essential in the development of the little ones. Sometimes we as adults understand what they feel, but we don't know how to explain it to them. However, doing so is necessary step to grow happily. The 30 stories by Maria Méndez Ponte will help to recognize and manage all kinds of emotions. Next. Max Einstein rebeldes con causa. Max Einstein rebels with a cause. This is a children's book. Max Einstein is the first and only children adventure series officially approved by the Albert Einstein Archives. A fast-paced science-filled caper. Max Einstein typical day is not your average 12-year-old. She teaches classes at New York College, does kidnapping attempts with her best friends, goes on secret missions on her billionaire boss, has a mysterious connection to Albert Einstein. It's almost like a bad guys have a spy inside the change makers. Next. El Diario de Junior, Dog Dare's Mission Impossible. It's a middle school story. It's Dog Dare's number 3. The Amazon, an Amazon best book of the month and a Barnes & Noble top book of the month. It's me, Junior, back again with another tail-wagging tale of mischief making. I'll tell you all about the fur racing time I had when my pet humans went on a trip without me and the horrible place they left me. Here are some of the adventures. I had. How I survived on a diet of icky vegetables with no yummy drool, including meat inside. My super secret plan to steal delicious hamburgers. It's a dangerous mission, but as I always say, you can't keep a good dog down. Next. CHAU, Toodle. It's a children's book. Amazon bestseller rank is number 29 in children's trains books. This story preaches discipline. It teaches children that it's better to stay on track and follow the rules if you want to reach a destination. In this classic little golden book from 1945, Toodle is a young locomotive who loves to chase butterflies through the middle, but he must learn to stay on tracks no matter what if he ever hopes to achieve his dream of being a flyer between New York and Chicago. Next. Los cuentos más divertidos, funniest storybook ever. It's a children's book. Richard Scarry's classic collection of these funny stories is back in print. Richard Scarry classic collections of these funny stories is back in print are all your favorite busy town characters are back and getting into countless silly situations. Whether it's an out of control mix-up with M.A. Pig's new car, babysitters making accidental exploding food, sneaking mice, pirates, talking over Uncle Willie's sheep, or even a talking loaf of bread that blames Humperdinck, the baker, and lowly worm. Young readers will be rolling on the floor with laughter thanks to the hysterical hijinks found in this funniest storybook. Next one, please. Criaturas míticas de España. Mythical creatures of Spain. It's a children's book. Discover the fascinating stories about Holy Company, La Bandera, or the coconut, El Coco, among other tales. Essential to recognize legends and not to lose the traditions of Spain folklore. 100% recommended. A beautiful, charming book. Joya Mia and Sphinx of Balazote on an unprecedented journey through the illusions of our traditions, often passed down by word of mouth. Share our journey discovering 40 creatures and legends almost forgotten and help us to perpetuate them in our memory. Next. Peter Pan, it's a children's book. It's a nice recommended Peter Pan because it's so magical, and every now and again we need to take the kids and step into the land of make-believe. This is a beautiful classic story. Peter Pan has a power of fly and lives on a magical island. He's passionate about storytelling, so every night he goes to London to hear what a mother tells her children at bedtime. On one of the visits, he loses his shadows, and when Wendy, a house girl, sees it by her feet, the boy invites her to the Neverland. Next one, please. Los Bolt, una familia de hienas. The Bolts, a family of hyenas. It's a YA book. Although Clary plays with humor, the warm underlying message is one of the tolerance for those who are supposed to be different from the norm. Clary mixes the animal with imaginative and entertaining fiction. Mr. and Mrs. Bolt are just like any of us. They live in a nice house, they take care of their garden, they go to work, they have 2 children, and they love to laugh. There is only one small difference. They are hyenas. And what do hyenas like the most? To laugh. So far, no one in town has noticed it. However, a newly arrived neighbor suspects that there is a cat or hyena, look up and puts this cheerful family in trouble. Next. ¿Qué hacen los héroes cuando no están en los cuentos? What do heroes do when they are not in the stories? It's a children's book. Oliver Dumas presents this simple and charming book with a parade of the many great characters of children's literature, a friendly and fun story to read any afternoon or bedtime readings. Let's go to the next one, please. El gato que no quería tener pelo, the cat that didn't want to have hair. It's a children's book, an action-packed picture book full of color that will make the little ones laugh a lot. How can a cat who doesn't like hair be happy, especially if it's so hairy? What if the solution was simple to get rid of it? Easy to say, but not so easy to achieve. Severine, Delacroix, Anthony Signal, and Pauline Roland bring us this hilarious story of how to sulky and fearless cat Eusebio managed to shed his fur. Your little ones will burst out laughing. Next one, please. Canción de Sangre, Robinson. This one is a YA book. In Julia Evers' dark and lush LGBTQ romantic fantasy ruin song. Two young women from rival factions must work together to reunite their country as they wrestle with their feelings to each other. An engaging fantasy novel that will push readers to draw parallels between the narrative and contemporary events and conflicts, and hopefully empower them to use their own voices to stand up for what they believe in. Next one, please. Tal vez somos eléctricos. Maybe we are electric. It's a YA book. The page turned filled with romance, teenage angst. The thought choices related to identity recommended for all high school libraries. Intimate and heart-trending. From Val Emich, the best-selling author of Dear Evan Hansen, the novel comes a deeply affecting story of two teens who find themselves thrown together overnight during a snowstorm and discover a surprising connection. Emotionally vivid and endlessly charming, Maybe We Are Electric is an artfully woven meditation on how pain can connect us. We can carry it alone in darkness or share the burden and watch the world light up again. Next. Furthermore, this one is a YA book, very well-known author, the captivating and colorful adventure that reads like a modern-day fairy tale from the best-selling author of the Shatter Me series in The Perfect Gift. A place so full of enchanting beauty and topsy-turvy adventure brimming with color and magic. Only three things matter to Alexis Queen's Meadow: her mother, magic and color, and her father who always loved her. The day father disappears from Fairwood, he takes nothing but the ruler with him. 3 years later, Alice is determined to find him. She loves her father more than she loves adventures. Next, please. El Osito Más Querido, The Most Loved Bear. It's a children's book. The Most Loved Bear is a captivating classic picture book story that will enchant families for many years to come. A warm, nostalgic tale about enduring love between a child and their very favorite teddy bear, the perfect story for families to share. Growly Bear and Mary Rose are very best friends and do everything together until one day, Growly Bear is left behind on a train. He's sure that Mary Rose will come back for him. However, as the days turn to weeks and weeks turn to months, Growly Bear gets worn. His eye comes loose and his growl starts to fade. Then a child picks him up, but it isn't the child he was expecting. The next one, please. Cuentos de Mama Ganso. This one is Tells Mother Goose. It's a classic book from Lectern. It's this publisher is from Mexico, and this is a new imprint that they are publishing for YA and children selections. A wonderful collection of classic fairy tales by Charles Perrault, fully illustrated, a lovely, light-hearted read with great messages. Mother Goose was published in 1697. The stories existed centuries before Perrault as part of the European oral and written tradition. Some versions are surprisingly truculent, especially for current readers who have just come across them and assume they are children's stories. What Perrault did, and very well, was to rework popular narratives in order to adapt them to aesthetic taste of his time. Thanks to Perrault, popular stories from oral tradition passed into cultured and written literature. Next. Tali la Niña Tigre, Tali the Tiger Girl. It's a YA book. a brave and moving novel inspired by Libby Scott's own experience and her way of seeing the world through the eyes of autism. Thanks to the prose of Rebecca Westcott, we will know the life of the teenager in this emotional novel. Tali isn't autistic, but she hides it as much as she can. She knows how uncomfortable people around her feel. They don't understand autism. They don't understand her, but masking her autism, Tali is hiding her true self. But when your true self is brave and wonderful, it can't stay hiding forever. Next one, please.
Mariela, you can have 1 minute to wrap up.
Okay. Just Begin Ted. It's a children's book. Just Begin Ted is a sweet, heartwarming story about the importance of being yourself and being accepted for who you are. This book offers a fun, heartwarming story about the importance of looking beyond initial appearances and embracing people for who they really are. Next one, please. Asesino de Brujas, Serpent Dove, Amazon bestseller rank number 13 in teen and young adult fairy tale and folklore adaptations, number 26 in teen and young adult paranormal romances. This one is book number 1, and as you can see, here is book number 2 and book number 3, volume number 2 and volume number 3. The next one, please. El cacasaurio que se zampó a la princesa, the dinosaur that popped on a princess. It's a children's book, a magnificent piece of work. It's a review from the bookseller. Don't be fooled into thinking that because it's about a princess, this book is just for girls. Boys absolutely love it because, once again, in this series, it's about poo. And for the boys, the more poo, the better. It has colorful illustrations. Next one, please. Caraval. It's a YA book, Amazon bestseller rank number 9 in teen and young adult performing arts fiction, number 17 in teen and young adult siblings fiction, and number 85 in teen and young adult paranormal romances. Do we have time for one more?
Go ahead with one more.
Which is the last one. Ratón de Biblioteca, Ascendance of Bookworm number 1. It's a YA book, a manga series, which is very popular right now. A biblio fantasy writing for book lovers and bookworms. It's going to be a series of these manga books. We are presenting number 1, but we're going to have more of them. And this is it. Thank you so much for joining me today and for giving me the opportunity. And if you have questions, please let me know.
There was one question from the beginning of the presentation about the Elizabeth Acevedo book. Is it in Latin American Spanish?
Yes, it is.
Okay, great, thank you.
Gracias, Mariela. And of course, we always have time for Ratón de Biblioteca, of course. Also remember that these live presentations are available for you to download. So, you know, if somebody went too fast or something, you can always go back to this live presentation. Our next presenter is Cynthia Gonzalez from Lil Libros. Lil Libros is a corporate member of Reforma. For more information about this company and contact information, please visit our website and remember to use the hashtag Reforma LA Book Fair. And Cynthia.
Buenos días a todos, ¿cómo están? Espero que todos muy bien. And I just want to say thank you so much to all the presenters, and of course, thank you so much to Reforma for continuing to put this amazing event virtually for all of us to continue just learning about the great books that everybody's releasing, and you know, all this artistic just amazingness that's being shared. So once again, my name is Cynthia Gonzalez, and I will be presenting our new spring titles from Little Libros, which super excited. Little Libros, we are a publishing company from out of Los Angeles, California, founded by 2 Latina mothers. And Little Libros was created to encourage reading in 2 languages at the earliest of ages with books that celebrate inclusivity, cultura, and authenticity. Since 2014, Little Libros, we've published over 45 books, and our board books, picture books focus on concepts such as biographies, first words, travel, storytelling, and much more. And to start off, one of our newly released titles is Amor de Colores. This is an in-house publication, and the summary is following the success of singing Cantando de Colores. Amor de Colores will introduce your little ones to all the colorful ways we see love in the world around us. Children will adore this heartwarming read that teaches them the colors of the rainbow and more. The author is Melanie Romero, which this is her debut book como autora. She is a trilingual writer based in Orange County. And it was during childhood weekend trips to the OC Marketplace to Randy's Dollar a Book stall that she discovered a passion for reading and eventually writing. She graduated from USC with 2 bachelor's degrees in creative writing and cinema and media studies, and a master's degree in literary editing and publishing. This book is illustrated by Citlali Reyes, who Citlali Reyes has been publishing, she's been illustrating more than 30 books for Little Libros. And this is a spread here para todos los que están ansiosos de ver un little sneak peek. I will be giving sneak peeks of all the books, so exciting. Our second book that we are releasing is Milo and Nico. Milo, an energetic girl confined to Abuelita's plant shop, spends her time roaming the aisles and checking out knickknacks. She finds that she isn't alone. A Bengal tiger is loose in the shop, and together, after earning each other's trust, they delve into the deep, dark rainforest of plants and head to their first of many adventures. This is a wonderful book that promotes the power of imagination. The author and illustrator is D. Guzman. This book is for the ages of 4 to 8. And D. Guzman is a Latina illustrator for picture books and freelance work. She lives in Minneapolis with her partner, 2 cats, dog, many fish, and her own jungle of houseplants. Dee loves to take road trips and travel with her partner to find inspiration. When she's not illustrating children's books, she runs an at-home print shop and creates and sells her own illustrations, prints online. And once again, this gives us a sneak peek, and all of the books are bilingual. Not sure if I did mention that at the beginning, but they are all bilingual. Our third book is titled Sábado, Saturday. Inspired by Mesoamerican pictorial manuscripts, particularly the Aztec codices, this almost textless hardcover celebrates the perseverance it takes to graduate and how family will always be there to see you from the beginning to the end, walking across the stage. Perfect for graduation celebrations, this book will honor the hard work it takes to graduate and how one's family is the reason for one's success. This is another author and illustrator joining the Little Libros family this year. His name is Jorge Garza. He is from Northwest Indiana. And growing up, art class was his favorite. This, along with the spectacular worlds of comic books, were great inspiration to explore his own creativity, to write and draw. The next couple of titles, these are new titles joining the Life of series. If you are familiar with the Life of series, they are all biographies, board book biographies for all the little ones que empiecen de temprana edad to start learning about the amazing Latin American heroes and sheroes. And we're going to start with the life of La Vida de Chico. Chico Mendes, a Brazilian rubber tapper, trade union leader, and environmentalist, became the leading figure in fighting to preserve the Amazon rainforest. He advocated against deforestation, going as far as to peacefully surround forest areas by standing up against bulldozers. He felt no fear other than knowing the rainforest was in danger, and it was up to him to defend it with his life. The next one here to the right side is the life of La Vida de Pura, que todos conocemos muy bien. A gifted puppeteer and storyteller, Belpré captivated millions of bilingual readers across New York City and worldwide. Her children's book, Pérez y Martina, became the first Spanish language children's book published by a mainstream US press. She left such a lasting impact on the reading world and Puerto Rican community that the Pura Belpré Award is named after her legacy. Now, both of these books and the Life of series, the authors are Patty Rodriguez and Ariana Stein, who are the co-founders of Little Libros and have co-authored more than 30 books celebrating the Latino American experience in this country. The illustrator is Citralic Reyes. And these are the spreads. This one here is on the Life of La Vida de Chico. And it's such a beautiful book. I mean, just the colors. I mean, I might be a little biased because, you know, I am with Little Libros, but I mean, all of our books are amazing. I mean, I'm just saying, throwing it out there. Pero aquí está the spread on the Life of La Vida de Pura. And once again, the illustrator of these books is Citralic Reyes. Now, our next title, which is one of the most anticipated titles that we have this spring, titled Cocinando on Cook Street. Family is where the heart is, and the heart is our kitchen. Inspired by her own Mexican ancestry and cultura, Chef Marcela Valladolid's children's cookbook leads readers through the magic and legacy of her family recipes. From homemade chili lime chips and fresas con crema to arroz rojo and carne asada tacos, there's a recipe for every person and occasion. Everyone will have the opportunity to cook and taste a little bit of Mexico. Now, the author, a little bit about her, Marcela Valladolid is an Emmy-nominated celebrity chef, television personality, designer, author, mother, and businesswoman. Marcela began her professional career as a food editor for Bon Appetit magazine. She has hosted her own shows and co-hosted the 3-time Emmy-nominated Food Network hit show, The Kitchen. She has also appeared as a celebrity judge for 3 seasons on the Food Network show, Best Baker in America. Now, let me just point out that although Marcela Valladolid has authored many other books, this is her first children's cookbook with Little Libros. So we're super excited to have her on board. This book is illustrated by Elisa Moreno. She is a children's book designer and illustrator. She loves experimenting with traditional techniques like watercolor, graffiti, and gouache, but she is in love with digital illustration. And another point to this book is that all the recipes are bilingual. You'll see that if you can see them here, they're in English and in Spanish. The next title, we are also another book that's we're super excited about. Sana, sana, colita de rana. Si no sanas hoy, sanarás mañana. Inspired by the classic rhyming song, Sana, sana, colita de rana, that many American Latino children grow up with. This book follows Tina in her quest to become an aspiring Mexican wrestler, alongside her plush sidekick, Mr. Frog. After she suffers a boo-boo, Tina is made fun of by her brother. Her ouchie makes her want to quit, but it is up to her to face her fear of being injured again and return to the wrestling ring on her own. And just like the song encourages, no matter how bad things get, today or tomorrow will always be better. Now, we're super excited about this book, specifically because the author and illustrator is Citrali Reyes, which you've heard me mention a couple of times already. She's been our first illustrator since the inception of Little Libros in 2014. And this is her first debut book as an author. This is a hardcover for the ages of 4 to 8. And here is a spread on the book. And just a little bit more on Citrali Reyes. She is a Mexican illustrator. Since she was a child, she always loved doodling and telling stories through images. This drew her to the enchanting world of illustration, where she has resided for almost 10 years. And as I mentioned, she's been with Little Libros since 2014, illustrating more than 30 bilingual books. And now she finds herself in this new adventure of creating this first book as both an author and illustrator. This is a favorite of mine, just because I see that there's a little girl that's super excited about wrestling. Yeah, I mean, if you're Latino, I mean, we all grew up on wrestling and lucha libre, so super excited to see a little girl in this position. Our last book that we are releasing for the spring is El ABC de las Telenovelas. And I'm sure many of you are already smirking and cracking up and so forth. And we're super excited about this book. And the summary is, grab your popcorn and nestle into the couch. An illustrated anthology of iconic telenovelas awaits you. From El Abuelo y Yo and Luz Clarita to O Clon and Rebelde, this book will reintroduce generations to an alphabetical flashback of Latin American soap operas now ingrained in pop culture. It'll be brimming with nostalgia over its illustrations of prominent telenovelas and the characters that brought the screen to life. Now, I don't know how many of you, but I was singing Luz Clarita right now in my head. Every time I see this book, I just think about Luz Clarita. The authors are Chris Winters and Michelle Winters. They are sisters. Chris Winters is a multidisciplinary artist based in Mexico City. Her greatest passion is to tell stories through journalism, writing, and event planning. Michelle Winters is a funny, creative, and resilient Mexican who will always make you smile with one of her analogies. Her inspiration for creating this book is to help diverse communities see themselves, as well as entertaining readers, thus generating an interesting conversation. The illustrator is Laura Diaz. She was born and lives in Colombia, a beautiful country full of joy, nature, and kind people. After studying graphic design and working entirely as a designer for several years, she realized that her real passion was illustration. So she decided to quit her job to become a full-time illustrator, having the opportunity to work with different brands and people around the world. And so here is the spread on this. And here's another little song that I keep hearing in my head right now is Carrusel. So once again, this is, and the age group for this is everybody, just everyone. There is no limitation. So these have been the titles that we are releasing this spring that we're super excited for. And if you have any questions or you would like to see a catalog, please send me an email here on the screen, and I can definitely help you in learning more about these titles. Once again, thank you so much to everyone. Thank you so much to Reforma and the team for doing an amazing job. And we'll give it back to Mario.
Mario, we cannot hear you. I'll go ahead and say thank you, Cynthia, while Mario gets his mic fixed.
Sure.
We had some okay. We had some really positive comments in the chat. I don't think we had any questions. Oh, there's a question about the link to the presentation, which we will fix on the Reforma website. and get those slides to everyone. And then people, got hungry with the cookbook.
Oh,
Love
yo aquí
Sana
con
Sana
hambre
Colito de
también.
Rana. And they were thinking of all the telenovela songs as you were talking about that book. So
Awesome.
thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thank you
everyone.
so much, Cynthia. And our very last presenter today is going to be Cristina Terrazas from La Librería. For more information about this company and their contact information, you can visit Reforma, as with all the other ones, reformala.org/blog/bookfair. And on social media, remember to use our hashtag ReformaLABookFair. Go ahead, Cristina.
Okay. Hola a todos, buenas. Thank you for having us. And I am Cristina Terrazas. I'll be guiding you through our curation of novedades today. Let me just make this a slideshow really quick. So we are La Librería. That's capital L, capital A for Los Angeles, where we were conceived, born, and now thrive in mid-city Los Angeles. I'm gonna stop. Oh, there we go. So there we are. Our focus is obviously books for children and young adults in Espanol, as well as bilingual titles. We've been doing it for 10 years. So this is my name. This is my address to write me a letter. And then you can also call, text, any questions here. That's my direct line. So I'm just going to talk a little bit para los que no nos conocen. We are a 10-year-old company. We are Latina, founded and run, passion and mission driven. And we started small, selling to families and schools. And today we are one of the most extensive collections of quality and authentic Spanish language books for children and young adults. We work with over 150 publishers across the world. And that includes Spain, Latin America, as well as the US. And we curate collections for schools, libraries, and universities across the nation invested in bilingualism, cultural representation, and the power of reading. I just want to highlight quickly, if you need a copy of our Essentials catalog, this is, to us, it's a standard. Every title in this is tried and true, read by many educators, librarians, and children and young adults, relevant genres and themes. And while it's limited to kinder through 8th grade, we curate collections from kinder all the way through 12th grade senior level high school. Each page has the inside of many books, as well as a synopsis in English. And we have a few sections here. Just a little glimpse. So how we curate, we love getting to know communities. We love making plans and getting to know your population. Oftentimes in the middle of the country, they need a little bit of guidance there, and we're happy to do that. We do the living work that is the curation part, and basically curating collections that will cultivate a love of reading. So our titles are Spanish or bilingual. They are reaffirming of culture identity and or only the best. Quality writing and illustration, authentic stories, and good translations. We do carry books from Spain. We pride ourselves on having a diversity of language. So while we do carry many from Latin America, we also do carry some with vosotros. So now we're going to get into the novedades. And before I do this, I just want to say that we have a space here in Los Angeles where if any of you live in the area, you are welcome to come by. I would love to meet you with a mask and have a cafecito en conchita on us. So here we are. We're going to start with some social emotional titles, as well as titles about mindfulness. And this is a board book called Mi Cuerpo Siente by Patricia Fernandez Vieverac. She's actually a child therapist, and she put this book together for very small children to just start navigating their feelings and their bodies. It's filled with beautiful illustrations and writings that are very identifiable with our youngest readers. aprieto los dientes porque tengo rabia. Next title here is Respira, de Inés Castelbranco. This is breathe. So what I love about this is it starts as a story and just a lovely realistic narrative of a child telling their parent that I can't sleep. And from there, mother's answer is the rest of the story and teaching basically breathing methods. Of course, the child responds, yo ya sé respirar, like I know how to breathe, duh. But the mother kind of teaches us exercises and unique ways of breathing to breathe well, an essential skill for better health, attention span, and mental state. As you can see, we just got a couple glimpses of the inside where we see the heart and the lungs, different positions. Next title here is Porque Gioramos, de Fran Pintadera. I love this author. The book is Why Do We Cry? And the story starts with a question asked by a son to his mother. And her answer is what takes us on this journey through illustration and poetic writing, where her responses talk about the clouds to the sea and rocks and vaults and walls and fears, and all reminders of where tears come from and the array of places they can come from and inspire. And at the end of it all, we learn that tears help us grow. Crying calms us, nourishes us, and heals us. And we see a lot of parallels. This is not the only title where we see a lot of parallel with humans and nature and plant life. There's a lot of that happening right now. So all of us cry, big, small, tall, short, boy, girl, everyone cries. Let's talk about it. Here's just a glimpse of the inside. Mama, porque lloramos. Next title here is Tu Cuerpo es Tuyo by Lucia Serrano. Your Body is Yours. We consider this an essential title. With the guidance of specialists and professionals, the author Lucia Serrano talks about our bodies, sexuality, consent, and the prevention of child abuses using simple and direct language. I love this because the illustrations keep a young reader engaged. The language also keeps them engaged because it's simple. At the same time, the illustrations are as clear and real as the lessons taught throughout. So I'll give you a little sample here. Cada persona tiene un cuerpo, solo uno, y con él se pueden hacer muchísimas cosas. So let's talk about that. And then we even see the body up close. Hay vulva, testículos, también potito. So tu cuerpo tiene muchas partes. And here we talk about consent. No, it's one of my favorite pages. Tú decides quién te toca. And it's great. It's perfect for young and mid-aged children. Soy un árbol. I actually have a copy of this here with me. This is a beautiful book. I am a tree. As the title states, we are like trees, and the book illustrates the many similarities between us, human beings, with plants and trees. So there's a simple repetitive text and a cadence throughout the whole thing that keeps readers listening. And it shows through poetry and art the parallels. Plants and humans are born, they need water, they need warmth, and they need care to grow healthy and strong. And we all have roots. So here's just a little one that's easier in the PowerPoint. I love the element of the illustrations is they have a little opening, which you can see that sneak peek on the next and previous page. You can see here. It emphasizes that messaging of our similarities while making this title all the more appealing to little ones whose eyes and fingers will want to explore over and over. I love this for talking about family trees. I love it for for treating human beings as the planet and accepting those from wherever they are and the diversity of plants and the diversity of human beings. Celebrates life in peace and harmony without exuberance, pero con mucho, mucho amor. This title was presented, thank you, Jimena Chauluna. We also carry it, we love Saori. The Earth is My Friend. So I'm gonna go right through that, but it's written by the same team that did El Mundo es mi casa, o La Casa es, yeah, El Mundo es mi casa, creo. It's very similar aesthetic, but this time talking about the earth and activism. Another title we'd like to share is Agua y Tierra, Water and Earth. It is a beautiful book teaching about amphibians and reptiles, where they live, what they're like. It's captivating. The illustrations are absolutely mind-blowing, really beautiful. Jane Goodall is the last installment of a series of biographies. This is a narrative by Jane Goodall explaining her passion for Africa and her work with chimpanzees. This is a bilingual book. So this is, I think, one of the only bilingual books we're presenting today. And just want to show the inside. I love it because it's bilingual. You have that much more readership. You have English on one side, Spanish on the other, and all of the visual supports throughout are awesome. I love that on every page almost, you have those visual supports to keep the reader engaged. And we love the choice of change makers represented in this series as well. That's side-by-side bilingual, and the style aesthetic is really beautiful. People Power was also presented by Jimena, thank you. We're actually we do episodes of Libro Talks, and Kiara Arroyo, one of our co-founders, will actually be interviewing the author of this book, Rebecca June, and talking about protests that changed the world. When a community defends its rights, when a nation defends its identity and culture, when a large group of brave people stand up for what they believe in, amazing things happen. And this book highlights these famous protests. I love this image with Gandhi. All right, now we're going to jump into some more in the younger level nonfiction science books. First one is called El Piojo. I don't have El Piojo, but I have El Gusano y El Murciélago to show you the size. So El Piojo obviously is about lice. And what we're learning in all of these books, this Animalejos collection, is what ties them all together is they're animals that we don't really like talking about in a positive way all the time. Some say that they're ugly, some say that they're just desagradables, el piojo, el gusano, murciélago, y la rata. And all the details in each of these books is stuff we want to know. This is about the size. I love books like this are great for children that don't necessarily want to read a narrative, but they just want to get some really good data and connect it with really fun illustrations. El cuerpo de los piojos es ligeramente transparente. Se puede ver el interior de su estómago. Mira, ¿dónde estaban las llaves del coche? It's super funny, and I love the combination of humor with science. So there are just covers there. Next title, I have it here, but I don't have it with me right now. Gracias, Historia de un Vecindario. This is Gracias, the story of a neighborhood. I love this book. This is one of my personal favorites. I love community, and so this book teaches about that. Basically, none of the neighbors know each other because they're making assumptions, they're prejudiced, they don't trust them. But as we read and get to know each neighbor, as we flip each page, we get to know another neighbor and who they actually are. We learn that all of those assumptions were completely wrong. And it's so funny and it's so goofy. And I'm also chismosa, so I love knocking on all the doors of all the neighbors and seeing what they're doing inside. So había una vez un vecindario como muchos otros, tenía casas, farolas, árboles y vecinos que no se conocían. So there's a lot about empathy, and I love it for this particular time because we're in a time of relearning and reimagining what community can be like after a lot of time without it. So it's full of those lessons of humanity, tenderness, and it's motivating for us to get to know our neighbors. A really good example I just want to show is they thought that Camila, what did they think? En el número 15 vivía Camila. Siempre se oía mucho ruido. Everybody always heard a lot of going on over there, but they thought that she couldn't hear, and that's why she put the television on so loud. She actually has 10 chicks. So let's be empathetic with Camila's situation. There's another one with a lawyer who's a fox, who's very serious and always runs right into his house when he gets home from work. And we realize that he's running home because he hates his job and he wants to dress up like a clown and like goof around. So it's wonderful. The ratón tiene miedo del gato, but the gato's vegetarian. So a lot of fun mini stories within this one big one. And the ending is super unexpected. Next title is La Mejor Jugada de Madani. Madani's Best Play. Love, love, love this book. It's been doing very well for us. It's the winner of the Premio Cuatro Gatos. And it follows a community that's like many communities in this world that has an intimate relationship with football or soccer. And this particular community looks on, especially when their star player is in action, Madani. Why? Because not only does he play beautifully, but he does it barefoot. And we just love this title. The details and the illustrations, the unexpected twists, the lessons. I don't want to give away the good parts, but I'll show a little bit of the inside. I love here is they're talking about how he plays. Everybody looks on. I also love how this neighborhood looks a little like LA. The waiter stopped with his tray. You have this family here looking on with a little baby. I just love it. It's beautifully illustrated, beautifully written. This is a great example of, yeah, we love it. Okay. So this is the Libro De Los Sonidos. This is a very, very fun book. It's very unique. It's a book of sounds for children from a young age because sounds are fascinating and they basically give children information about the world very early. I think it's great for even older children though, and even obviously me, that I like making sounds like that. So this book proposes a different type of exercise beyond reading and enjoying the wonderful illustrations. It gives us an opportunity to make sounds. So it's a playful experiment. So I have to move this. Okay, a playful experiment with which children are capable of creating a soundtrack. So we basically read this like notes on a staff. So ha llegado la noche y el cielo azulea, desde la cama si pones la oreja un mundo sonoro llena la casa. And it basically tells you to make the sounds. And I have a little video here, if it'll let me. Ooh, it will. I wanted to show you this video. It'll give you a really good idea of what the exercise is like because they show children doing it. And we'll stop there and go back. All right. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Oops. Okay, next title, El viaje de las palabras by Andrea Marcolongo. I love this. I am a word nerd, and this is all about the journey of words. So we go back in time to the origin of words like escuela, chocolate, lengua, animal. And each word has this long journey and evolution and where it comes from. And these etymologies bring surprising discoveries that gift us with a look at how language is constructed and how we ourselves are the language. Love this book. Here's a good example of the interior, chocolate. It's hard to see in this actually, but as we see Azteca, chocolate. Really beautiful. Another one I have here is El Libro del Tiempo. This one has interactive pages, some pop-up elements, and some lifting going on. Engages the reader on that level. So time is all around us, and it's on clocks and computers and even our bodies, and how culture has developed based on time. So we have different ways of measuring time, the calendars and different types of time, minutes, hours, days. I think one of my favorite pages is when it talks about this dreams. This page where it's a wheel actually that turns, and time to a baby seems longer than time to somebody who's 30 and 40 and 60 and 80. As we get older, time gets faster. And this is just an example of the flip up page. Toco Madera, a very fun new title, Knock on Wood, a book about superstition, good luck, bad luck, and it's all about that. And it's got fun, humorous illustrations by Andres Lopez. And we talk all about those things like walking under ladders, black cats. And I love it. It's a really good one for the multicultural element. This is just an example of some of the fun illustrations. Dice, en especial si el gato negro eres tú. Okay. Okay, and I'm
got about 1 minute left.
Perfect. This is my last one. And I saved it for last. I tried to find a way of organizing this because this book is my absolute favorite, Sunakai. It was highly anticipated. It is dazzling. It's like, you know, like when you're doing something and you don't expect it to go, but then it just keeps going and going and going. And the journey is beautiful. It's a fiction picture book, and it's an ode to sea and a hymn to the need to protect our planet. So it follows two sisters, Sunan and Kai, and they're living in a world where the sea no longer has life, plant nor animal. And they live together in a shack on an island of plastic. And Kai is the diver who finds the goods, nothing living, no fish. So they dive to find watches and knickknacks that they can trade to eat. And you know, it sounds kind of depressing, right? It's a potential future, but honestly, the title is straight up dreamy adventure. It takes you, like the minute you go one place, it takes you to another, and it just keeps going and going. Young and old readers are enthralled, they're enchanted. It creates intimate connection with every single character, and it makes this dystopian world that sometimes we might feel like we got one foot in there. It feels kind of real, but with these hopeful solutions, resilience, and rebirth. And I love that. It was a fantasy, it was fiction, but it's also really something we can connect to and identify with. So, siempre decimos, sin cultura no hay futuro acá en la librería. Gracias por escuchar. Y aquí está mi info, Cristina Terrazas. If you need help curating a collection, we're here for you. If you would like to order specific titles, we have an order form that we uploaded with about 60, I think, for this. Okay.
Thank you, Cristina. And thank you to all the presenters for presenting today. Reminder, attendees will have the opportunity to win a Spanish book bundle for their collection valued at over $200. The winner will be announced during the last session and posted on social media. Also, please join us next Thursday, March 17th, where Cinco Books, Scholastic, Candlewick Press, Penguin Random House Library Marketing, Latin American Book Source, and Vista Higher Learning will highlight more Spanish books for children and young adults. If you haven't done so, please visit the Reforma website and register to attend. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day. Gracias. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you, all our presenters, and thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you.